And test 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good evening, John.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do you want me to go louder, John, or is that okay? Do you want me to go the highest?
Oh.
12. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
All right, perfect. Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4. Is that a little bit? Go again.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Perfect.
Help us level the playing field. Sign the parliamentary petition today to fuel the growth and fund the game.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Jack Edwards Reserve for Friday night football. It is an absolute blockbuster here in Melbourne Southeast. The team leading the league right now heading into the final rounds of the season, the Oakleigh Cannons against South Melbourne, who are looking to take a big step towards finals football. A big, big game as Oakleigh can take as well a massive step towards securing the NPL Victoria Premiership with a win tonight. My name is Nick DeBardo and I'm joined here alongside Steve Curtin. Steve, these two have played in a lot of big games for many, many years, particularly in the last couple of years. Grand finals, Doherty Cup finals, the lot. And this one has all the hallmarks of a big-time fixture, particularly with what's on the line for both these two teams.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. It's crept up on us a little bit, this one, with South obviously being involved in the big show last Saturday and Oakleigh being engaged in a first versus second battle as well. This one's just a bit of a sneaky one on the radar to watch out. Also, last time they played, South Melbourne had their senior players arrested due to OFC commitment, so it's the first real time where they've gone toe-to-toe with their best 11s, and so many new signings in this South Melbourne team. It's an exciting time to tune in and catch this one with only 5 rounds to go in NPL Victoria. It's very exciting at the business end of the season, Nick.
Absolutely. Every game right across the league matters just that little bit more. Every point is worth its weight in gold. Just looking at the team news for today's game, Steve, South Melbourne with a couple of changes to the side that drew 0-0 with Preston last week, and one of them a big in, Paulo Retro starting his first game for South Melbourne. Yeah,
the two-time A-League champion with Sydney FC and started his career back here in Melbourne, a Melbourne boy originally, played with Melbourne Heart and Melbourne City. Prior to that, he arrives from Wellington Phoenix and he gets his chance in the starting 11. And there's no Max Mikler. That's the big team news for South. He's out of the matchday squad altogether. Also, Richard Nkomo, who started at left back last week, drops to the bench. So Jake Charleston continuing in goals. No Harvey Lopez. In defence, Jack Painter-Andrews. We believe Tom Giannakopoulos will drop back to the defence. Also in the defence, Marko Jankovic and the new signing, Hassan Ramazani. Retre in midfield alongside Pasquale. Yuki Yoshida as the more advanced option through the middle. Aaron Cox and the other new signing, David Yu. And yet another new signing leading the line, but one that needs no introduction is Bull Duarch. Will he get his first goal in South Melbourne colours tonight? We'll wait and see. And for the Oakleigh Cannons, only the one change, Nick.
Yes, Kingsley Sinclair out of the matchday squad, out with injury, but a very welcome in Cam McGill, who comes into the squad. Still no Jordan Hall or Alex Salmon, so a couple of key players still on the sidelines for Oakleigh as they come in towards the final rounds of the season. Rounding out that starting lineup, Tom Manos, Brodie Boyce, Connor Hampson, Jacob Tratt, Matt Miller, Joe Guest, Adam Doradovich, Campbell Strong, Labib, and Joseph Ford, as we're all but set to get underway here. It is Oakleigh in their traditional navy blue, and South Melbourne their away white kits tonight. A big, big game tonight for these two teams, looking to take a big step forward in their respective ambitions. Oakleigh right now with opening up quite a gap on second place Hume City. They're closing in on the NPL Victoria Premiership, and South Melbourne, they need points if they want to play finals football this season. They're in 6th, but want to keep the likes of Melbourne City and George Cross at bay, but also potentially scale up the standings in the next few weeks. As here is Paulo Retro on the ball early here for South Melbourne. David Yu looking to get past Connor Hampson, was able to find their Buljuarch. Second start now for South Melbourne. Cheetah flicking it through, but was unable to find any of his teammates. Buljuarch is a watch tonight. He started his first game last week against Preston, and Showed some signs of rust. Looked like he's a player that obviously hasn't played a lot of football since moving from Heidelberg to Canada and now coming back to South Melbourne. So slowly adjusting back to life in Victoria and in South Melbourne colours. They've taken a bit of a conservative route as well. Of course, he came off the bench in his first appearance against Dandy City. So big watch on him tonight against the likes of Tratton Boyce.
Yeah, I think, Nick, it's going to be a matter of him finding that chemistry with the other players. You saw just a moment ago, Yuki Yoshida won the header, but we'll just pause on that thought because Lviv's getting the ball into the box. That's partially cleared by Yankovic in the heart of that South Melbourne defence. Yuki Yoshida just tries to get the ball up and ahead of him, but there was no one there. It's out of play. So, yeah, for Bulgaarch, it's going to be a matter of can he get that link-up play with definitely Yuki Yoshida, but also Paulo Retro, who will be looking to play that slide rule pass through that Oakleigh defence to try and pick up the run of Bulgaarch. He's so good at making those runs in behind, and he's so good at just popping up. He can be anonymous for 20 minutes, and he pops up in the box at the right time. That he's such an exciting player to watch. He had such an amazing season for Heidelberg last year. In the 28 games he played with 22 goals scored, it was quite an impressive performance by the striker, including capping it off with a goal in the grand final that helped them lift the silverware to become NPL Victoria champions last year for the Burgers.
Just looking at the starting lineup here for South Melbourne, it looks like Aaron Cox has been playing a little bit deeper as a left-back at times tonight, but it looks like they're also settling into a back three. We've seen Tommy G push up furthermore to play as almost a second striker that we saw him finish the game last week. So something to keep a bit of an eye on. Is very fluid setup here for South Melbourne early doors. Yeah,
it does look like three centre-backs with Tommy G, Yankovic and also Ramazani. So, yeah, keep an eye on that one there as this one plays out. But Sinisa Kohadzic, we hadn't expected him to come out with the back three. Looking at the starting 11, it suggested that it was a possibility. But, yeah, it's a big change to make at this time of the season, Nick.
Absolutely, and South Melbourne, of course, have won 2 of their last 3. They're undefeated in their 3. Of course, that draw against Preston Lions, but got those 2 wins against the 2 Dandenong sides, Thunder and City, after a bit of a lean run of form. Of course, they've had to play a lot of football this season, juggle a lot of respective competitions. Of course, the OFC Pro League, and when they met last time, it was a vastly different South Melbourne team, and they've done well here to win a corner in the opening few moments.
Yeah, so first corner of the evening, Yannis Isis is the one officiating things out there and keeping an eye on everyone in the penalty area here as Aaron Cox, who's lined up, as we're talking about that defensive shape, he's lined up as the left wing back. So as the breeze just picks up here, it's coming from the northwest, and that corner is not the best effort from Aaron Cox. Away by Ford, but it was blocked by Painter Andrews. Back to Cox again. Yankovic forward up on the flank. Seeing a centre-back up there almost marooned on the flank. It's always a funny sight to see. So, but we mentioned the 3 centre-backs, and it's Painter Andrews and Cox who are playing as the wing-backs, it looks like. And here's Retray on the ball. All of his experience for the 33-year-old. What an asset to come into this starting 11. Got some minutes off the bench last week in the big show. How did you see his performance and contribution last week when he got on the park?
I think he fit in seamlessly. It was the sort of play they need to bring on in that game, and they just need a little bit more control in midfield. Preston was starting to get on top in those points, and particularly Luca Tavir was having a massive impact, and once he came on, he was able just to steady things a little bit. Of course, it meant that Tom Yanakopoulos played further forward, but I think he was very impressive and showed no signs of rust. And here is Bulgaarch looking to play it through. David Yu is waiting in the middle, and Tratt's there to get across and put that one out for a throw-in.
Yeah, Jacob Tratt picking up where he left off last week. Didn't give Godfrey DeBelle an inch of space last week in that duel. And he's going to make things difficult for Bulgaarch and Yuki Yoshida tonight, you fancy?
Absolutely. Fascinating watch tonight, Steve. I mean, the interesting thing is just how this Oakleigh team have just been able to get back to their resurgent best this year. Of course, the disappointment of the elimination final last year. They're one of those top teams as well, Steve, that when you look at some of the sides around them who have had to juggle Australian Championship duties, they had a full pre-season to, recuperate, bring in some new players, and suddenly right now you see how they've been able to string together the performances that they have and go on this unbeaten run. It's starting to bear fruit as Miller looking to get in behind and Ramazani puts it out for a throw-in. But this Oakleigh team, they've just gone about their business this year. They've been steady. They've gotten results. They've put themselves now in a great position to take out some silverware.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic performance by them again this year. Chris Taylor just knows what he needs to do, knows how to get the best out of this group of players. They all look driven each and every week to keep maintaining the highest standards that they possibly can. Painter Andrews in possession. Bourgeois Arch with the back to goal. He was trying to play the first time pass, but I'm not sure who he was aiming for. It was picked up easily by Connor Hampson, who proved to be the game breaker for Oakleigh last week, getting forward from left back. And South Melbourne started this one pretty well, giving as good as they're getting out there. And Yuki Yoshida is accelerating down towards the big digital scoreboard. He's outnumbered and he looks to win the free kick, but he's unable to do so. And Ford's going to play it up the line. Juradovic, haven't seen him get too much involvement tonight. Combining with Cam McGill, the welcome returnee who is back from injury just in time to replace Kingsley Sinclair, who hasn't missed a match this season, but going down and subbed out with a nasty injury at Hume last week. Wish him a speedy recovery, and hopefully he's back with finals football coming and perhaps the Australian Championship as well. Well and truly looking likely to be coming out here at Jack Edwards Reserve. So something to look forward to for Cannons fans and players alike. Guest trying to play that slide rule pass, looking for Juradovic. The running behind never came, though. He was right on the last line of that South Melbourne defence. But, yeah, good end-to-end feel about this one early, Nick.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen Oakleigh on this ground when they can get into that transition play and how quick that they can break back the other way. It's almost like a basketball game with how quick they go from end to end. It's been the trademark of their, really, the last few years and all the success that they've had under Chris Taylor. So, immediately having a few opportunities down their end, but yet to really test Jake Charleston. Now a chance for Juradovic. Tangle there between him and Jankovic. No free kick paid there from Yanni Zizis. Cox to Ramazani under the pump there from Labib, and goes back to his goalkeeper there in Charleston, who puts it out for a throw-in. Jake Charleston today, 4th start this season. He's been thrown in the deep end the last few weeks with Javi Lopez still missing through injury. Clean sheet last week against Preston. 2 clean sheets in a row now for Jake Charleston. So definitely a boost of confidence that the young goalkeeper needed, especially if he's needed throughout this run towards the finals, and he may be needed again on Thursday night in the Australia Cup against Adelaide United. So big game after big game after big game for the youngster.
Yeah, it's a big opportunity to showcase your skills on the national stage, and Jack Charleston will relish that opportunity. Javi Lopez, obviously a massive loss, such a good leader, and he's been so good for so long at this level. Juradovic is wrestling his way into the area. It might break here for Joe Guest. Hampson over the bar. Flashes over, and the first shot is fired in anger for the evening. And it comes in the shape of Connor Hampson, the left back, who loves getting forward and supporting the attacks. He won that penalty last week against Hume that ended up being the match winner, with Joe Guest slotting the spot kick. But his shot was just over that time. But again, it's another warning for South that these sort of players are hard to pick up. They come from deep positions. And that's the value of having a hard-running fullback that's got an eye for goal and an eye for creating goals.
He was one of the best attacking fullbacks I think we've seen here in NPL Victoria over the last couple of years. And see it there. He doesn't only get on the end of set pieces where he's so deadly from those Joe Guest corners or free kicks as Charleston under the pump there, but he's so good getting forward, as you mentioned as well, Steve. Still going strong, turning 34 next month as well, and he doesn't look a day older than 21 with the way that he's been able to get forward up and down that flank. He's been such a key player for Oakleigh for as long as he's been here in the country.
Yeah, and the way he's going, he looks like he's got plenty of good football in him. Another 5 years or so, I'd say.
Aging like fine wine.
No problems. Yeah, he just seems to keep getting better. So he's forward with the throw, combining with Labib. Those two have a very good understanding up the right-hand side for Chris Taylor's team. Here's Trutt. He's got a bit of space to advance forward. Miller's in the gloves here. Looked to go all the way back to Manos, but decided to throw the dummy and go striding forward as Matthew Miller. Got his first goal since coming back to Victoria a couple of weeks ago. Here's Strong receiving from McGill. South Melbourne with plenty of white shirts back, and it's a good pass from Pasquale to pick out Yoshida, who ran straight into a cul-de-sac. And Brodie Boyce is going to try his luck from distance and force the save out of Charleston. And he gets it on the second bite of the cherry with Adam Juradovic was chasing down that loose ball in the box. He was able to respond quick enough and grasp that one to his chest.
Why not have a go from there, Brodie Boyce? A rare player to see amongst the goal scorers in NPL Victoria. Only 3 for the Oakleigh Cannons in his career. But why not have a ping? They were giving him the space, and now South Melbourne looking to create something back the other way. Cox, great touch, and looking to feed the ball through to Juarch. Boys, they're getting an important touch in. Labib helping out Ushida, but Ushida did well to win it back. Cox, Labib, Pasquale, Retre now finds Ushida. 2-on-1 here on this near side. Japanese attacker does well to find his man in Retre. Pasquale. A couple of shut down there by Guest, and Oakleigh do well to win it back. So far, Oakleigh have looked the more dangerous and have been able to shut down the South Melbourne attack in the early going. South win it back there from the throw-in. It's been a strange old season for South Melbourne. Of course, they started the season on fire, but that was when, before the real travel began in the latter stages of the OFC Pro League. Of course, they had travel prior to the season in the OFC Pro League, but the travel that coincided with the regular season, and really from there, when they had to field much younger teams in those games because senior players were on different islands in the Pacific or over in New Zealand.
Quite literally.
Yes. It opened up the door for the 23s, but South Melbourne's results suffered as a result. But even after the players did come back, there was those losses against Altona and Green Gully. As well, of course, some off-field, say, a bit of a saga that happened there with Sinisa Kohadzic.
I think we can call it a saga.
Yeah. His departure and then his return within a matter of days. So it's been some 2026 for South Melbourne in more ways than one. As Painter Andrews now looking to get forward down the right. It's out there for a throw. But it has been just such an up and down year for them on the field. And with all the stuff happening off the field, they've been in the headlines one way or another throughout this season.
Yeah, it must be exhausting. And you can see why they've looked to rejuvenate the squad so much. Like 14 players going out in the mid-season transfer window. That must be a record in NPL Victoria history. I'm not sure if anyone else has bettered that.
I do have one. Dandenong Thunder this year with 17. The other day it was 31 players
that's
out
amazing.
between the two when
amazing.
they met. It was crazy.
Yeah. But for a side, contending, it's not something you see every day. You look at Oakleigh, very minimal changes in the window. Bringing in Matt Miller to bolster their squad just ahead of the window, given that he was a free agent. But they're pretty happy, and they're looking to bring back a couple of players. Jordan Hall and Alex Salmon, just a couple of handy assets that they can bring back into the team. We can call them like new signings because they've been out for quite a while. So we'll see what that entails when those players are back. Salmon was doing some work with the ball, looking pretty sharp as well before this game, so he can't be too far away. And you mentioned, Nick, the battle for that top 6 with some matches tonight as well that could dictate where South Melbourne find themselves, depending on this result as well. And we can confirm that around the grounds, it's still 0-0 between Heidelberg and George Cross. So George Cross, one of those sides, looking to sneak into the top 6. They just haven't gone away. They've hung in there all year. And they made a pretty handy signing as well, signing the leading scorer from the OFC Pro League as well, just announced yesterday, Nick. Big news there.
Yeah, bringing in Alex Samuel, player that, of course, a lot of familiarity for South Melbourne, of course, coming up against him throughout the OFC Pro League. But a very nice signing for Georgies to bring in the final weeks for this season. But how about what's going on over at Churchill Reserve right now? St Albans 3-1 up against second place Hume City. So the permutations for that, the ladder stays the same. Oakleigh will be 8 points clear. But if Oakleigh win tonight, they're basically on match point heading into next week to wrap up the premiership. So next week they do face the Bentley Greens away, so they'll have a chance to wrap up the premiership just up the road at Kingston Heath.
I think Ari might be going out to buy the champagne bottles in advance. I don't want to pop the cork too early, though, for...
As we know,
Moz the Cannons.
There's a lot of time in that game tonight. We've seen stranger things in NPL Victoria, and I'm sure that Hume City will be raring to bounce back in the second half. But
right. Well, it's always a big game when Hume and St Albans play. Obviously, the history with Cam Watson moving across, a lot of players played for both of those sides that have ended up at St Albans coming from Hume.
Of course, as well, big news for Hume City today, losing Aaron Calver for the rest of the season after signing for Auckland in the A-League. It's a great news for Aaron Calver to get another crack at the professional levels, but it's a big loss for Hume City going into finals.
Yeah, and it just shows you as well that the exposure at NPL Victoria, even though players look like they might be finished at this level, there's eyeballs on this. And look at this from Ramazani. Little flick from Nishida. It's liquid football by South, and Paul George almost applied the finish.
Wow, that was beautiful work there. All started there from Ramazani. What a signing he has been there for South Melbourne, and all the new signings linking up. And South Melbourne fans in front of us here in the grandstand, they love that one. Did well to get past his first man, fed it through. David Yu, what a flick that was, and Paul George just unable to steer that one on target. Big moment there for South Melbourne.
Oh, it's just those little touches from Ramazani that kept on drawing in the opponents to try and have a little nibble, and he would just skip past one after another. And the South fans who are gathered over here on this broadcast side, absolutely loving that passage of play, and why wouldn't they? It's so exciting to have new blood coming into the team, and if they're going to be performing like that, in particular Ramazani, a central defender who can dribble like that, that's not too bad.
Absolutely.
Well, Labib could be in trouble here.
Yeah, very strong challenge there from Labib, and Yanni Zizis is coming over to have a word with the Oakleigh winger. And we'll see which way Yanni Zizis decides. Will it just be a stern talking to, or will there be a card brandished? It doesn't look like there will be. So Labib gets off with a warning. It's been the four-man for Oakleigh this season. What a signing he has been.
He's pretty lucky to get away with that one, looking back at that. He lunged in, it was pretty dangerous. And he just decides to keep the cards in the pocket.
Got to be very careful there in those moments, but luckily enough for Labib, it's a final warning for a card maybe brandished. So still 0-0 here. It's Pasquale looking to feed it through. Here's David Yu getting involved now, but he's unable to find Cox on the first attempt. Cox almost got it back off the ricochet. Labib, this time he's fouled, and the South fans not best pleased. Steve, just looking at this turnout tonight on that opposite side in the new grandstand, it's looking pretty full. A nice turnout here. A lot of football happening right across the state, but the fans have come out here to Jack Edwards Reserve. Of course, you haven't seen South Melbourne come out to Jack Edwards Reserve since the new grandstand has come into play, but it's a really nice turnout here on Friday night football.
It's definitely the biggest crowd that we've seen here since Preston was in town last.
Absolutely, all the way back in round one.
Yeah, it's feels like a long time ago now. You see that big elimination final, Preston and Oakleigh here last year as well. A massive crowd that day in September. Here's the opportunity. Just breaks down. And here comes David Yu running at Hampson. Girach with back to goal. Holds up the ball really well for Yu. And now Retre can get involved. Didn't have anyone to his left, so Cox eventually arrives to provide the support. Retre calm and composed as he plays the ball out in front of Yuki Yoshida. There's the forward getting a foot in, so South will get the throw. No Max Mikler out there for the long throw tonight, Nick?
No Mikler and no Lampard. So see Jack Payne Andrews load up with the long throw at times, but I think they're going to stray from that for the time being. Been watching those Mikler throws in recent weeks, Steve. He's been opting a little bit against the long throw at times, just almost going with the shorter option. I guess all opposition defenders are planning for that ball just to be hoofed in. But nonetheless, actually looks like Aaron Cox is setting up to launch this one into the box. So where Cox goes. Doesn't get nearly enough distance on that we usually see from a South Melbourne throw, as Ushida has an attempt on goal. And it bounces through there to Tommy Manos between the sticks.
It was always going to be tough, that throw into the wind. You can see the corner flag over there flapping away. We're a little bit protected from it here, but yeah, it's definitely coming from the western side of the venue tonight and blowing towards this broadcast side. Gerardovic put his body on the line, won the header, so did McGill. Retre mops up and he finds David Yu, and it's a good first touch as well by Yu. It's a good battle between Yu and Hampson developing over there on the far side. Those spectators in the new grandstand will have a bird's eye view of that over there in the great creature comforts that are provided now at Jack Edwards Reserve to fans that come here. Looks fantastic over there, doesn't it, seeing that full?
Really feels like an eternity ago since the days of the Oakleigh turret on that far side.
Never got to experience that one, Nick. Never had want to say fortune or misfortune? Of
No,
experiencing the turret?
we don't forget the turret. They were. You had the best view possible. It's great for us as the commentators, as offside there called against Jack Payne-Andrews, but that's a beautiful new grandstand. You know, seeing it last year slowly, it felt like every week you come back here, get that little bit closer and closer, and now seeing it in full flight and seeing it full, it's a great addition here to Jack Edwards Reserve, which I think is one of the better venues here in NPL Victoria and Victorian football just as a whole. It's great to see the investment in the game as well, and seeing this out there week in, week out, and especially now to see it full here tonight. It's a great sight for all involved.
Well, we hope you're enjoying this one wherever you're tuning in tonight. Steve Curtin and Nick DeBarno here. NPL Victoria men's round 22. There's 4 matches to go after this one. And Djuranovic is getting in behind here. Giannakopoulos with the recovery. Djuranovic got back up on his feet. Home fans are asking the question to Giannis Isis. He waved away any penalty claims very quickly. And Oakleigh going to keep coming here through Labib. Strong was taken down from behind by Ramazani, who protests his innocence, but it's going to be a free kick to the Cannons in a promising position here, perhaps for a left-footed delivery from Joe Guest.
Yeah, took the words right out of my mouth there, Steve. Almost the perfect position for Joe Guest. So dangerous from these positions, as we've seen for quite some time here in this competition. One of the best players in NPL Victoria history. Clear as day foul there, but it's just opened up the door a little bit here for Oakleigh. So Guest setting things up here. The tall timber up from the back. We'll see if he's going to go direct or maybe look to find a teammate in the middle. Charleston setting up his wall of 2. He's just getting everything organised as the Englishman Wizard looking to make something happen here for the home side. Guest plays it in towards the back post, and it was a set up in the wind there, and Charleston had to contort his body and make the save. You spoke about that wind, Steve, and it is blowing a gale, and it is going to potentially cause some havoc for both teams as they deal with those lofted balls into the box throughout this evening.
Yeah, well, Jake Charleston made a really good, positive early movement, but with the curl of the ball, the whip from the left foot of Joe Guest, and the breeze as well, he almost overran the flight and trajectory of that one, and he was able to adjust his feet quickly and had enough space to make the claim easy enough in the end, but just looked a little nervy for a moment for the South Melbourne fans that are gathered on this side, but no harm done. There hasn't been too many set-piece opportunities so far. South Melbourne have had the one corner kick, which was a bit of a worm burner from Aaron Cox. They're going to go forward in an open play sense here through Yuki Yoshida, running it forward. He's got Cox in support. Aaron Cox driving inside onto his preferred right foot. It's an inviting ball in, but it's straight into the palms of Tom Manos. He put it in there just almost inviting anyone in a white shirt to come and have a pop at this one, but no one really was making the running to get on the end of the ball from Aaron Cox. South are going to try and go forward again. It's a touch from Bourgeois, which wasn't quite his finest from a player of his abilities. A little bit off balance, and it's out of play for a cannon throw in front of the subs bench there. Those subs for Chris Taylor tonight, the sub keeper Zach Bowling, also Lucas Goveranis, Brandon Jaccarini, James Georgiou, Liston Diaz, and Joe Knowles, who turned 30 early this month. He got some minutes off the bench last week, did Joe Knowles, as did James Georgiou and Liston Diaz. CT made 3 subs in the win against Hume. Look at that clearance from Ramazani there. Bounces back up like he's made of rubber bands, and here comes Djuranovic. He's pulled out wide left. Retre, again calm and composed. Look at that turn from Retre. Great control. You can see the class that he's got, Nick.
Absolutely. All that experience on show. Did very well to work his way through that and just not panic in those moments as well. It's that extra little bit of composure. Just seeing those moments as the Bib almost got on the end of that, and Charleston's clearance takes a wicked deflection. Still might work out for Oakleigh, but Jankovic just able to nod that one clear. Tratt. Bit of head tennis here between the two sides, and a tangle and a free kick to Oakleigh. Just on that about the composure, it's always interesting seeing, Steve, players that come out of the A-League system or a professional environment and come down to the NPL when they first make that step down. And just seeing how composed they are in those moments. I mean, you remember back in 2024 when both Tratt and Jordan Hall both came down to Oakleigh, and the difference that made with just having their composure in the back four, it ultimately led them to the NPL Victoria Championship. And having those sort of players, it's so valuable, particularly for this run home. And we've seen with other teams that have loaded up going into these final few rounds, bringing in that sort of calibre of talent. Hampson's cross is cleared away. It's coming straight back to Guest. So they'll get another opportunity here, the Cannons. Hampson's cross is cleared away by Painter Andrews, but Strong's there to mop up. Yeah, just going back to that point, I mean, it is quite incredible just how much of an impact those players can make, even if it isn't the whole entire extended runway that a mid-season window usually would in other leagues across the world, and you've got this sort of sprint to the finish.
Seen that ball cleared onto the roof there. I haven't seen that ball being smacked that high so far since the new stand has been built. But look, it's a great analogy, that comparison between Hall and Tratt coming in that year when Oakleigh went on to win the championship 2 seasons ago. And it's something about bringing in players who have just come off the back of a A-League men's season, just finished up in May, had a little bit of downtime, and they've got that hunger and desire to go out there and enjoy their football at a more local level, coming in that back end of the season. And they can just really make a high impact in that sort of 7 or 8 games that they've got when they come in that window, which is obviously so late in the season. And we might see that again from Paulo Retre here, you fancy as well. He looks like he has so much time when he gets in possession, and he's able to shift the ball from left to right and bring other players into it. So, and he might be a key component, despite not being a central defender, of this system change to going with the 3 centre-backs and the wing-backs, because he can really hold down that area with another former A-League player, Seb Pasquale in there next to him too.
Well, especially, I think the signing of Retre was ultimately to try and get him into that starting 11, player of his calibre, but you're breaking up the dynamic duo of Giannakopoulos and Pasquale, which has been brilliant now for quite some time. But they've found a way to get all 3 of them on the park together, as Giannakopoulos making a strong tackle there on McGilp. All locked here on this far side. Floated in, so bad ball in, and Charleston did well coming off his line to collect. So we've played close to half an hour, still 0-0, still that Bull-George chance, the best of the evening so far. Sitting on that South Melbourne bench today as well. Anton Van Riet's the backup goalkeeper today. Geordie Swibble, Richard Nkomo, James Lackey, Andrew Mezzaruni, and Andre Skopoulos making up the bench today. Bench off the top, no Max Mikola, no Jordan Lampard, no Javi Lopez. So both teams with some key players missing. Very fascinating to see how both coaches get all the jigsaw pieces to fit in the puzzle come September, when you'd expect all these players to, hopefully for both these teams' sakes, be available come finals. And here's Labib. Did brilliantly, just coming right through the middle of the park here, and well defended there by Giannakopoulos, and Retre there to offer a lending hand, but Labib still ends up with possession. McGilp wins it back. Back for Labib, but well telegraphed there by Painter Andrews. Giannakopoulos now stepping forward. Pasquale, Ramazani. Now South can build on this near side. Encouragement coming here from the South fans here in this broadcast side. Cox of Cheetah was unable to bring that one under his spell. And Oakleigh can go back the other way.
Djurdovic thought he might have been fouled, but this is going to provide the advantage here. Ford just decides to go back. Strong and McGilp can combine. Plenty of strapping on the left knee, on and around the left knee of Cam McGilp, but so good to see him back out there. He's one of the exciting players to watch. He's not the biggest by any stretch out there, but he's got more fight than a lot of players that are more than double his size, as Cam McGilp, which makes him a real fan favourite. A lot of players, not only of the Cannons, but just fans of the Victorian competition in general. And here's Bull-George. He can try and skip past Cam McGilp, and we've just given him a rap, and he's committed the foul there, right under the nose of referee Yanni Zizis.
Well, Cam McGilp, just going back to that point, Steve, I mean, throughout this dominant period that Oakleigh have had for the best part of 5 years now, he's sort of been the guy that's sort of got under the radar. Joe Guest has got a lot of the plaudits, and Alex Salmon and Joe Knowles, but he's been one of their most important players now for quite some time. He used to have that formidable duo with him and Ollie Kubalay, and now with Campbell Strong. He's such an important player for this team, and even though they've been so good this year, you feel they go to another level when he's playing at his best. Yeah, they'd be so happy to have him back, especially with no Kingsley Sinclair tonight, as that ball's played through. Too much heat on it.
We talked earlier as well about Giannakopoulos being forced out of that double pivot area for South Melbourne. It's like he's loving it playing on the right-hand side of that back three so far. When he intervened on that advancing run from Labib before, when it was opening up to 3 against 3, you can see, like, for someone like Tom Giannakopoulos, that's as good as scoring a goal, jumping in and winning the ball in that situation. You can see the satisfaction of making that challenge. And the timing was perfect.
He would have absolutely loved last week getting the opportunity to play as number 10, which, you know, when it did happen at the time, there was an air of pessimism between myself and Mark Ivkovic when we were commentating the game, like, what's going on here? But he was fantastic. And he just continues to show how versatile he is and what an amazing player he's been for South Melbourne this season, as Pasquale finds Cox in some space on this near side. And to go right at Joseph Ford, but he's well corralled. Labib offering some support. Cox does well and wins a corner. So an opportunity here for South Melbourne. They did well to cause that turnover high up the field. Bourgeois is having some moments early.
Cox has been lively down this left-hand side as a left wing back. I'd love to see a left-footed option in that position just to try and get those earlier balls in there. Cox forced to go back onto his right foot a couple of times. Might have cost South a chance to ask a few more questions of this Oakleigh defence, but they might get the opportunity here. And again, it's going to be into the breeze, so Cox will need to put plenty of pepper on this one. The tall timber lurking at the back post is Yankovic and Giannakopoulos. It's the set-piece routine combining with Yoshida. And now it comes in. It's headed away by Juradovic. Only as far as Painter Andrews, whose attempt to prod the ball back into the box was harmlessly through to Tom Manos.
So just looking around the ground, still 3-1 to St Albans against Hume, but Preston have opened the scoring against Bentley. So on the live ladder, Preston into third right now. So jumping Avondale, putting themselves only 4 points behind Hume with a game in hand. So that makes things really interesting for that top 2 battle as well. The thing that Oakleigh can actually wrap up this week, though, Steve, is they can wrap up the top 2. They need results to go their way, but getting that top 2 spot, also, along with what they would be hoping to wrap up the premiership soon, would be so important for them because, of course, you do get that week off come finals and a home semi-final.
If they can get the win tonight, then I guess all eyes will be on Melbourne City and Avondale tomorrow. That's 7th versus 3rd tomorrow at 3 p.m. down at Casey Fields. It's got, a lot of implications, that fixture there. And Melbourne City, they look like they've had to start, resting a few of their players that need the enforced layoff. And, it might give Avondale a bit more hope because they need to get a win tomorrow because they haven't had a win in their last 3.
Absolutely, and Melbourne City, of course, playing in the Australia Cup on Sunday over in Newcastle, so we'll see what players are available. That fixture down in Casey. South Melbourne win themselves a corner. South Melbourne right now in 6th. The win tonight, of course, the live ladder right now, they are still behind Heidelberg, but a win would take them above Heidelberg and level on points with Avondale. Just goal difference, the big difference right now. So corner here now for Hellas. Ball floated into the near post, nodded away there by McGilp, and it will be coming back via the throw-in. It does go to show just how important these games are, Steve. The snakes and ladders at this stage of the year, how tight things are between all those sides jostling for a finals berth, and now Hume starting to be dragged back into the race. It's going to be setting up for a big final month of the season. South Melbourne, they've got a very difficult run to the finish, which we'll get to in just a sec, because they're loading up for another long throw. And the best chance of the day through Bourgeois. I'd love to find that all-important opener is Pasquale with a audacious attempt. Does well, though, to win his side a corner at least. So another chance here for the visitors.
Yeah, again, that long one coming in, the long throw. Cam McGill's just that free player that sits in front of the South Melbourne attackers, and he's nodded away the last couple of set-piece opportunities that South have tried to bombard into the box. So this one's come off a navy blue socks. Another opportunity for David Yu to get the delivery right here. He's got to beat these men in navy at the near post. In it comes, he gets it over to the back, and this one is too long this time. So both sides, particularly South, having trouble getting the range right on these corner kicks and long throws as well. So as we get closer to half-time, inside 10 minutes till the break, still no score here. The best chance of the game was probably the one that was set up by Ramazani, and it was almost finished by Bourgeois, but he steered his left-footed shot just past the upright, Nick.
Absolutely. Big opportunity for South Melbourne to get that all-important opener. Oakleigh have had the wood over South Melbourne in this fixture now for quite some time, Steve, particularly in the league. I think the last time that South Melbourne beat Oakleigh in the league was all the way back in 2023.
Yeah, in the prelim final. Marcus Schroen scoring a double, Connor Hampson scoring that day. So that's 6 games unbeaten, Oakleigh against South in the league.
Well, of course, South...
Such rivals as well, and it's always a derby feel. You think that the results will swing around a little bit more than that.
Absolutely, and it's crazy to think that intertwined between there, the 2 wins that South Melbourne actually got in non-league games were both for 2 pieces of silverware. Of course, won the 2024 Doherty Cup final on penalties and the 2025 Community Shield, a 1-0 win at the start of last year. So it's been a long time between drinks in the league, as mentioned, Steve. An opportunity now for the home side. Duradovic does well to chase that one down and hold it up here on that far side. And wins a throw-in. Duradovic started the season like a house on fire, Steve, but has taken off in the last few weeks.
He hasn't scored since the 1st of May. He banged in 4 against Green Gully that night out at Keilor Downs, and well, I don't know if he peaked too early, but he hasn't been able to get on the score sheet since. But he's been contributing a lot in the balance of play in their attack. They've still been able to have him involved in the goal creation for players like Labib, who's been in good scoring form, and Joe Guest as well. As we await the throw here, Hampson looks like the one to take. And it's going to be launched in towards the head of Matt Miller, you fancy, who gets the flick on only as far as Charleston. Plenty of advice for Jake Charleston from the young fans behind his goal there in this first half. I'm sure you can hear their contributions at home as well through our microphone system out there. So it's still 0-0 around the grounds at Green Gully as they host Dandy City, and 0-0 at the Village as Heidelberg host George Cross. But Hume, as we say, Hume pulled a goal back 3-2 out at Churchill Reserve. So.
Classic out in the West.
Yeah. Please stick with us here, though. We haven't had any goals, but it's been end-to-end stuff, and there's been some good passages of play. And you just feel like that big moment is brewing any time, and it could come before the halftime break here. It did before halftime for Oakleigh last week, winning that penalty in the 45th minute, converted in first half stoppage time by Joe Guest. Aaron Cox skips past a couple of opponents in style, and he looks for Bourgeois. They probably, you'd say, they haven't been able to involve him as much in this first half as they would have liked, Nick.
Absolutely. He's had those couple of moments where he's looked very dangerous. Of course, he still has had the best chance of this game so far, but it's been a good battle between him, Boyce and Tratt. So he's got a lot to deal with, arguably one of the best centre-back duos in the competition. There's Jankovic now looking to set things up again. So into the final moments of this first half. Cagey start to this game. Jankovic able to find Retre. Good control there. Again, just in no rush. Oakleigh so disciplined, getting back behind the ball. It's been a wall of navy blue every time South Melbourne looked to break. Paynter Andrews did well to bring under his spell after the first touch with his head and was unable to get past his man, and that's out for another goal kick.
Yeah, tireless work there from Paynter Andrews getting forward, just about keeping that in, but you saw Paulo Retre receiving that ball. He just manages to pop up between the lines of the Oakleigh defensive block, but good lesson for young players who are watching this one tonight. His head is like it's on a swivel all the time. He's constantly looking and scanning for where his teammates are, where his opponents are, where is the space, where is there not space. And you can see that class that he possesses, and that's one of the reasons why it just seems like he has so much time when he gets in possession, even if there is tight confines in the middle of the park in that area.
Absolutely. And I think this South Melbourne team right now just look, especially on the ball in those midfield moments, they're not panicking. Having Retre and Pasquale in there and to control things, and now just looking at there's almost been an extra change in system now, so they've gone back to the back four. Tom Giannakopoulos is almost sitting as the anchor between the three. So very fluid is this system under Snisha Kohadzic, and tell you what, it's looking good, particularly in the defensive moments. They haven't been able to click just yet in the final third. opting for just that extra midfielder tonight than what they would usually do, where they usually play that sort of 4-4-2 and have that extra attacker playing alongside their main number 9.
Yeah, well, that is the advantage. Obviously, they can try and overload the midfield areas, but they can also have, if they've got 3 centre-backs and the wing-backs, they can take it in turns more of having players come forward, and they've still got coverage. If, for instance, Ramazani goes on another run, beating 3 guys like he did earlier in this first half, It doesn't really matter. You've still got Jankovic and Giannakopoulos there. That's very good insurance if he does lose the ball. He's Trapp playing it forward, looking for Juratovic. Locked it in pretty well, but Giannakopoulos was wearing him like a glove, and now it's Tom Giannakopoulos' turn to go on a bit of a run. So it does seem like Sinisa Kahadzic has enabled his central defenders to try and go surging up the park with the ball at their feet. Labib under pressure. That one's come off Labib's foot, though, so it cannoned away from him like as if it had come off an opponent, but it was his own doing. Cox is going to take the throw here. So what can South Melbourne rally up here inside 5 minutes? A game that perhaps needs a goal. It's been bright. It's been end-to-end. Just haven't managed to trouble the scoreboard attendance just yet. And here's Cox in the tight confines here. Oh, Pasquale went down. A late challenge on him. And South are going to get the free kick here. And Yannis is going to have a bit of a chat to Joe Guest, who's obviously got some complaints about the decision. There you go, Nick. You be the referee on that one. As Cox stands over the set-piece opportunity.
Yeah, perhaps just a little bit of a, I don't know, it looked very line ball.
It was a real nibble, I would say.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a hush over Jack Edwards' reserve as Cox prepares to deliver this free kick. The players are lined up on the edge of the 18-yard box. It's a useful ball into the back post. A strong header by Tratt. And it's still there for South. Jankovic, it's bouncing around. It's hoofed away by Joseph Ford. Oakleigh clear their lines. South Melbourne maintaining possession. It's a good ball in by Aaron Cox that time.
Absolutely, and looking to get Jankovic on the end of those crosses. He's so dangerous from set pieces. So far, just a very, very tight affair between 2 of the contenders this season. Pasquale to control things here in the middle of the park. South again in no rush to build up from the back. Don't expect there to be too much at a time to round out this first half here at Jack Edwards Reserve. Cool conditions here tonight. A proper July's evening here in Melbourne.
Oh yeah, it's the midst of winter here. We're down to 12 degrees. The feels like it's saying it's 10. That was a short time ago. It might have gone down since then. I'm not too sure. But
you were talking about the wind being we're being protected from the wind. It feels like the wind has picked up in the last couple of minutes. It's very, very nippy as Ushida, good header through. Here's David Yu. He's in behind here for South Melbourne, looking inboard towards Joash, but Brody Boyce got a key intervention. Did very well before Joash could get on the end of it. And a second ball almost on the roof there, but it's trickled off the off the new grandstand.
Oh, it's not a competition, guys. Really well played, Brody Boyce there. His positioning was perfect and his balance to be able to reach that ball that was played across the box just behind him. Make sure Buljavac wasn't able to get on the end of the ball from David Yu.
David Yu looking very dangerous in those moments when he can get isolated against the fullback.
What a good pickup as well. We've been talking about Ramazani and Retre. David Yu might be one that slips under the radar tonight, and Chris Taylor's men, we need to keep a close eye on him. And just as we say that, he's made his worst touch of the game.
Yes, to the commentator.
How to play for a throw. In the shadows of half-time here, 0-0. Hampson firing the first chance for Oakleigh, just over the bar from Jake Charleston. We also saw Brody Boyce shoot from long range. Charleston taking a couple of bites of the cherry at that one, and best chance for South was definitely the one for Buljavac. Couldn't find the shot to be on target. Here's Yu again. Fast feet from him. Giannakopoulos, Pasquale. Good first-time football here. Yoshida with the turn. Boyce was alert to the danger. So still comes South Melbourne through Giannakopoulos. Yankovic tried to pick out Payne Andrews. Matt Miller read it best. One the header, then another. Yiannopoulos going forward, and it's going to be out of play over there on the far side. Sense of anticipation as we approach the half-time. We've got that confirmation of the added time, and the added time is already elapsed. So, as you predicted, Nick, quite rightly, there wasn't much need to add much time on. It was a game of minimal stoppages, and the fans have seen some good football, but just haven't seen any goals.
Yeah, a lot of control, a lot of possession, a lot of very good defending from both the two teams, but minimal opportunities on goal so far. Bourgeois with the best chance of that first half. Great work from Ramazani to help kickstart that attack, and some good interplay between him and you to set up Juarch. Just unable to steer that one on target. Oakleigh have huffed and puffed and put the South Melbourne defence under the pump, but South Melbourne have done very well. They've held resolute, as have Oakleigh, and not allowed either side to get on top. As we're all set here for the second half in around 15 minutes' time. It's set up beautifully for the final 45. Lots on the line for both of these two teams. Oakleigh looking to take a big step towards the premiership. South Melbourne towards finals. So we'll be back very soon for the second half here from Jack Edwards Reserve. The score here is Oakleigh 0, South Melbourne 0. Welcome back to Jack Edwards Reserve. Second half here of this round 22 fixture. About to get underway between the Oakleigh Cannons and South Melbourne. Still 0-0 between the two sides. Bound for finals football are the Oakleigh Cannons, but South Melbourne looking to join them. Oakleigh as well looking to take a big step towards the premiership tonight. Nick Tabato and Steve Curtin here to take you through the second half as we're getting things underway. South Melbourne in their white, and they're already on the attack through Paulo Retro. Was unable to find Painter Andrews. Andrews shutting it down and putting it out there for a goal kick. South Melbourne having the best chance of the game so far through Bourgeois. But it's been a game for the defences, Steve Curtin, inside the opening 45 minutes. But hopefully this second half, with both teams understanding what is on the line, we start to see a little bit more of an open contest between the two teams.
Yeah, there's definitely goals in this game, Nick. I'm feeling confident about it. I know you didn't get any goals in your commentary match in the big show last week, and you know the Cannons only managed the one goal that wasn't from open play last week. But I think there's some goals. It's going to burst into life, and Aaron Cox is going to try and do just that as he gets forward. But again, it's really good defending from Brodie Boyce, who steps out of that defensive line, combines with Ford, and they get it forward again. He's strong over the top. It's away by Retre. A precise header to pick out Cox with the chalk on his boots of the touchline on the grandstand side. They come over to the broadcast side, and here's David Yu. A timely foot in from Connor Hampson, who gives his boys a rev up and says, let's switch back on for this second half, boys. Always setting those high standards, these experienced players and these recruits from the UK, like they find Connor Hampson and Joe Guest in particular. Bringing a bit of Kurjan Ashton into Oakleigh, into Jack Edwards.
Plenty of firepower waiting in the wings as well, Steve, so it'll be interesting to see how long both coaches wait. We know Chris Taylor isn't one to make too many changes too early, but when you've got Liston Diaz and Joe Knowles waiting in the wings, if they're just looking to change things up in that final third, it's a real embarrassment of riches when you've got those two to call upon to try and get yourself a winner. And, of course, Geordie Swivel is the name that really stands out on the bench for South Melbourne. They might go to.
Yeah, great options in the wide areas for Chris Taylor. And Geordie Swivel, well, he's effectively the top scorer for South now of players that are still at the club, given Noel Bernarda's exit. In terms of goals in the league, at least, he's managed to find the back of the net 5 times in the NPL Victoria season. He hit the target 10 times in the OFC Pro League.
He's on fire in the Pro League. Couldn't be stopped with some of those performances, particularly early doors.
So a good return, 15 in all comps. They've played so much football, this South Melbourne side. We were talking in the first half, Nick, you're saying it's been a funny season, unusual season. It's no doubt about it, that's for sure. The amount of football they played between the Australian Championship, going all the way in that competition and lifting the silverware, and then not much of a break really at all And straight into the OFC Pro League, which is overlapped with NPL Victoria. Here's McGilp. He's just been caught on the outside of the left foot. Plenty of pink boots out there as well. The World Cup as well, I'm noticing too. Cam McGilp, an exponent of that.
Bit of a trend going on at the moment across world football.
So I think the story was that one of the manufacturers made pink boots to stand out, but then everyone had the same playbook, and then now no one stands out. Is that what you heard as well?
I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine, I reckon.
Yeah, it was like the pink boots were endemic at the World Cup. They were spreading around. There's 22 players on the park who'd have pink boots in a lot of the games. So set piece opportunity here for the Cannons. South have definitely had more opportunities from the corner kicks. Cannons have had none. Oh, it's a risque clearance. Tratt knocks it down. Miller needs to find a bit of space, and New's going to concede the first Oakleigh corner of the evening. We saw in the first half that South Melbourne had the corner kick opportunity 4 or 5 times, and Oakleigh get their first here. So that's Hampson going over to take this one. So it'll be the outswinger here as he looks to try and find some of the tall timber at the back post. Tratt, the obvious target. In it comes. It's well away by Tom Yanakopoulos in the long sleeves. It's straight back to where it came from with Hampson. Drops the shoulder and tries to get around Yoshida, who held his ground pretty well. It might sit for Joe Guest. He takes it down on his left foot. No space for the shot. He was closed down well. Ford's looking for a little bit of space himself. He's got Boyce riding shotgun. He had his cross blocked. It might come back to him, but good defending. Again, it's going to come back into the box again. Flags up for offside as it comes off the crossbar. Ball still alive. Away by Payne Andrews. Play on's the call again from Yanni Zizis. Well, the flag went up on the far side. Almost getting ready to pause, but credit to both sets of players who played the whistle and kept on going. And eventually, the danger is cleared for South, but that was a risky moment for South off the crossbar.
Very dangerous moment. Oakleigh starting to turn the screws, but they've turned it over here. Pasquale looking to kickstart things back the other way. Retray. Navy blue jerseys flooding back, not allowing South Melbourne to break with speed. Yanakopoulos stops props, finds Payne Andrews. Good one-touch play there between Ewan Retray and Pasquale. Out to Ramazani in space. Going to drive forward from defence, and a good challenge there from Labib. Duradovic back out to Labib. Opportunity now for the Cannons to break. He's got Miller in some space on this near side, but Labib looks to take it upon himself, and Yanakopoulos does very well getting across. Labib wins it back. Tussle there on that far side, and Yankovic wins it, and now South Melbourne can go back the other way. Uchida, he's upended there at the halfway line, and South wanted the advantage. The captain, Marko Yankovic, is not best pleased. And Yuki Uchida has won the free kick, and there's no yellow card given. The South Melbourne fans, they can't believe it either.
Oh, I was almost certain we'd see the yellow card out of the pocket there for Brodie Boyce. Looked like something of an intentional foul on the halfway line to break up play, but he's got the benefit of the doubt. He's been consistent though tonight, Giannis Zizis.
I would call it a classic professional foul. But nonetheless, no yellow card given, so play continues now with South Melbourne in possession. Pasquale. Payne Andrews, this game starting to open up a little bit here in this second half. Payne Andrews, brilliant work. In a crossing position. And it's put behind for a corner. Well defended by Campbell Strong. And the visitors now having their moments.
Just trawling back through the replay footage there. It looked like it was Matt Miller's effort who saw his attempt come back off the bar after the flag. It appeared to have gone up for a potential offside decision, but play was allowed to go on. So, as we understand it, that would have stood had that gone in off the crossbar, but just back off the frame, and South Melbourne survived. They've got the chance from the corner kick here with David Yu to take this one in front of the old players' race from when the players used to have the change rooms on this side of the venue. So it's going to be taken short. Yoshida. Oh, and they fluffed their lines there. Disappointing set piece. I'll have to go back to the training ground on that one.
Yeah, just not the same wavelength there, both you and Yoshida.
It's a difficult pass. The speed that Yoshida was rushing forward towards David Yu.
One for the training fields, you said, Steve, that they're going to have to still try and work out in the weeks ahead.
Back to the drawing board, perhaps, is the right metaphor, perhaps.
Perhaps. Well, nonetheless, Steve, we're 53 minutes in, and this starts this second half, and the opening 8 minutes of this second stanza have been electric. Oakleigh hitting the crossbar, South Melbourne having opportunities back the other way to test. Retrate looking to nod it forward. Radovic feeds it out wide. The overlap comes there from Hampson. His play's lining up in the middle. Strong offering some support short. That's where he goes. Oh, Joach getting back. Well disciplined there from Joach to get back and win it. Now Yoshida looks to put the afterburners on and does really well there to get past Tratt. Tratt with the foul. And a free kick there for South Melbourne. Again, the call coming from the South Melbourne fans there for a yellow card to Jacob Tratt. But Yanni Zizis, once again, unmoved.
Well, there was possibly less in that than the Brodie Boyce one a short time ago, but it was an equally dangerous situation that Oakleigh was facing. And it's not often that you see Jacob Tratt beaten, but Yuki Yoshida really turned on the Jets there, as you said, Nick. And that little first burst of pace and then a secondary burst of pace, and that was when Tratt was forced to lunge in and commit the foul. It wasn't a huge contact, but it was enough to knock over the South Melbourne attacking midfielder and get another handy set-piece opportunity for David Yu. And he's going to need to nail this delivery and try and put it on the head of Giannakopoulos or Jankovic. So one in the wall. It's a little bit too low. It's away by Miller. So again, South Melbourne not nailing their set-piece opportunities, much to the frustration of the South fans gathered here on the broadcast side. They're frustrated about that. They're frustrated about Oakleigh getting away without being cautioned for those two intentional fouls in the last few minutes. Here's Pena Andrews. Well weighted pass. Giannakopoulos. Charged down by Juradovic. Still no action on the subs bench. Looking over on the far side, you can see subs for both sides. And sitting down, haven't been sent for the warm-ups in this second half. Juradovic is going to give chase. Jankovic is favoured to get there first. So he's going to go the way of Oakleigh.
Yeah, I think those subs will be hoping to get up soon and start go through their run-throughs, because it is very, very cool here at Jack Edwards Reserves we've spoken about. And just to stay warm at the moment, all huddled up there on the bench as Hampson launches it into the box. It's nodded away. Yoshida flicks it on. Strong has a second bite of the apple, and it's blocked. And takes a deflection and out there for a throw-in. Big, big game for both of these two teams. Oakleigh looking to take a big step towards the NPL Victoria Premiership tonight. South Melbourne looking to take a step towards finals football. Didn't play finals last year, looking to return to September action in 2026. Joach flicks it through. Here's Retre. Has players in support. Knocks it ahead there of Uchida, but Joseph Ford getting back. He did well on the first attempt, but Uchida still comes up with it, and he wins the corner. Very well worked there from the Japanese attacker.
That could have been costly there for Joseph Ford. Lucky for him, Yoshida ended up not keeping that ball in play, but they get the corner nonetheless with the city skyline glistening in the background. We await the delivery here for South. They must be going to nail one of these set-piece opportunities soon enough. They've had plenty of opportunities. Oh, their corners have been largely ineffective so far. So here's the delivery. It's the in-swinger. It's a towering header away by Ford to make amends for his blushes a moment earlier. And it's a chance for a bit of markers up in the new grandstand over there.
So we've got some final scores, Steve. St Albans have defeated Hume City 3-2. We've got 2 0-0 draws between Heidelberg and George Cross and Green Gully Dandy City. So 2 big games with permutations for this one, with Hume City dropping points and as well with Heidelberg as well. Their winless streak continues tonight. And George Cross miss a good chance for them to potentially jump into the 6, but a point could be handy for them depending on what happens here.
We talked about this at half-time in our break, Nick. Where have the goals gone lately? 2 0-0s tonight. We had 2 0-0s last Saturday. And we're locked at 0-0 here as well. We are promising the spectators who are staying with us for this one that there will be goals to come. It's just not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, as Joe Guest plays the ball over the top. South have plenty of players back. That trio of central defenders that they're using tonight, Yanakopoulos, Yankovic and Ramazani. And Ramazani is the one favoured to be receiving the ball here from Charleston. Well, he's given Retro plenty of praise, but that one ran straight under his foot. Pasquale able to make the intervention though, and here's Yoshida racing forward. Cox is out wide on the grandstand side. Really well read by Boyce, but he gave up possession to Yoshida, who's working around and picking up possession off Oakleigh players as soon as they win it back. Juradovic, he needs some allies here to combine with. McGill, he's been fouled by Yoshida.
So just in terms of the permutations for this game, Steve, results stayed the same. Oakleigh will be 8 points clear of Hume City, so they're going to be in a pretty good position going into next week with a win or a draw to potentially take a big step towards closing out the premiership. But if they do win, they can wrap it up. With a draw, they can't wrap it up next week. So a lot on the line there. Of course, they're going to be keeping an eye on what happens as well with Preston and Bentley. Preston leading 1-0 in that game. But South Melbourne, a draw will keep them only 2 points inside the 6 ahead of George Cross. But a win will take them equal 4th and above Heidelberg. So big stakes in these last half an hour of this one.
It's great that there's so many permutations at the moment. They're live with a further 4 games to go in the NPL Victoria season after this weekend. Steve Curtin and Nick DeBano here with the Abacus working through those possible finals and finals opportunities for clubs, relegation opportunities for others to avoid, some to suffer that fate. And, that could be confirmed for a couple of clubs very soon as well, as Tratt's going to play his ball over the top. Not his best effort. It doesn't find Matt Miller, who was the furthest advanced player for the Cannons. So a tight tussle here. Neither side yet to go to the bench. Yankovic is going to distribute this one out to Yanakopoulos. Paina Andrews is playing in that right wing-back role tonight. So the South Melbourne side, with so many changes in the transfer window, still just working out their telemetry between the lines of defence, midfield and attack, you fancy.
Ramazani. Taking the ball towards Juarch. The flick on opens the door here for David Yu! And South Melbourne strike first! A first goal in South Melbourne colours for David Yu. And what an important goal that could be in the context of the 2026 season.
Oh, what a moment for David Yu. He wanted to acquaint himself to the South Melbourne fans that have made the trip out here tonight. Ball over the top. That Oakleigh defence has been watertight all night. And this ball from Ramazani from on the halfway line, somehow over the top of one or two Oakleigh players. David Yu didn't need to break stride as he ran onto that one. Took a touch and he lashed it home. Manos with no chance. What a finish by the new signing. And what a way to score your first goal. A spectacular effort. And in a derby game against the Cannons too, a side that South haven't beaten for a very long time.
A massive goal there for David Yu, their new signing from South Island United. He started in the OFC Pro League, 4 goals and 5 assists in the competition. Scored against South Melbourne in PNG in Port Moresby earlier this year in very, very humid conditions. And now in the polar opposite, the freezing cold in July, he's opening the scoring for them and scoring what could be one of the biggest goals of their season so far.
Definitely the polar opposite from PNG. It feels like we're on the South Pole here tonight, but what a finish. And scoring against South, he's certainly raised the eyebrows of Sinisa Kohadzic and the South Melbourne coaching staff. And what a great acquisition in the mid-season window. So the OFC Pro League, something that South didn't quite manage to go all the way in. It seemed to be bearing fruit now with some of these new signings in David Yu and Hassan Ramazani, to name a couple here.
Well,
so South fans are finding voice all around us to our left and right here on the broadcast side.
So, right now, Steve, that 16-game unbeaten run in the league for Oakleigh is under threat.
And last time they were beaten in the league, it was here too against Heidelberg back in March as well. So it's a place that's hard to come to and get a result. But if you put in the right application, it shows you what's possible. And South are in the box seat with the goal coming just after the hour on 61 minutes from David Yu. A goal worthy of winning any game, but is there perhaps more goals to come in this one, Nick?
Well, it's been end-to-end stuff to start this second half. David Yu's goal, the difference. South Melbourne in the lead. A goal which will give them a bit of a buffer in that race for finals football. Right now as well, what could potentially be a race for a home elimination final as well. That's an extra little bit of caveat for the teams who make the top six. If you finish in third or fourth, you do host elimination final, and we will see the first change of the game, and it's going to be for the Oakleigh Cannons. And well, it's an interesting one. Joe Guest.
It's not something you see too often.
Yeah,
at all.
His evening comes to an end after 64 minutes, and he's going to be replaced by Joe Knowles. So usually where you see these two linking up, but it's Guest who is replaced. Their talismanic figure in the middle of the park who has been so key to Oakleigh's success for a very long time. Replaced here by Joe Knowles, and a player who we know has plenty of ability, an injury interrupted couple of years since returning to Oakleigh and looking to have a big impact in these final few minutes. We saw what he did against Dandy Thunder earlier this year. Can he create some magic here in the final 25?
Yeah, so Knowles is going to line up down the right-hand side. He had some messages for his teammates to pass on from Chris Taylor as he came on. And it looks to me like Adam Juratovic is going to move into the number 10 where Joe Guest was playing, and we're going to see Matt Miller playing as the target man. So with a bit of a change of approach here. So going with the bigger man up front, if that is the case, and seeing if Joe Knowles can provide the pace to create something on the right-hand side with the fresh legs. He hasn't had too many opportunities with injury in that this season. He's only made 5 appearances in the league so far for 1 goal. So a big moment for him here to see if he can contribute. I think when Oakleigh are chasing a lead like this, it's often Joe Guest who's the spark to get them back into it, to grab one and then maybe even a second, or certainly be involved in the goal. Him off the field, it's a big it's a big out for this Oakleigh 11 out there on the park right now.
Absolutely. Ball forward, and the foot race is on here. Joach able to chase this one down. Isolated here with Tratt on this near side. Joach puts the afterburners on and across into the box, but it's over the head of all the players waiting, but they'll get another opportunity here through Cox. A bit of trickery there. It's caused the turnover, and now a chance for Oakleigh to go back the other way, but Ramazani's there first before Miller. I mean, are we seeing a battle between two of the most versatile players in the league, in Matt Miller and Tom Yanakopoulos? I mean, is there a position that these two don't play?
I think the only other one we could have out there maybe Kingsley Sinclair as well,
Absolutely.
if he wasn't out with an injury tonight. But yeah, Matt Miller's an interesting one, known as a right back in the A-League, and then since he's come to Oakleigh, he's been deployed as a striker a couple of times off the bench, as a right winger or left winger, and he's a utility player, as they used to say in another football code. You might be thinking, and here he is there. It's strange also seeing the aesthetic of seeing someone wearing 6 on their back running around as the most advanced
Absolutely.
player. He's certainly not playing as a number 6. Here comes the change for South Melbourne. And it looks like it's going to be an introduction of a man who started last week, which is Richard Nkomo. And coming off, it's going to be Carlo Retre. So Retre could be on track for a win on his starting debut for his new club, if the boys can get the job done from here, but he won't be taking any further part. But a good performance from Retre in the centre of the park tonight, alongside Seb Pasquale.
Very steady. I think, obviously they're looking to ease him back in, and they've been quite conservative with slowly ushering him into the starting lineup over the last few weeks, and I think he's been quite good today in his first start for South Melbourne, Steve.
He has. It looks like he's going to slot into that left wing-back role. Aaron Cox maybe moving across to the right-hand side. We'll just keep an eye on those changes for South. Here's a bit of a succession of changes. As Miller gets his ball in, the bib was the target. It's smashed upfield by Ramazani. Tratt's going to get there first, but breathing down his neck is Bourgeois. Sinclair. Boyce made the clearance. Look at this from Labib. Oh, well played. It's a good battle, actually. Payne Andrews scrapping for the ball with him. It's a hot footy out there. Yiannopoulos trying to make the clearance, as was Pasquale. It eventually breaks for Cox. Nice ball inside, nice and neat to find David Yu. And the South Melbourne crowd is urging on Aaron Cox here as he tries to turn Jacob Tratt inside out. He gets the cross in on the right foot. It was a useful ball too. And Manos was out to claim quickly. Aaron Cox's movement from the left wing-back role to the right wing-back role. Looks like he's pretty happy with playing on this side.
Yeah, and I think with Payne Andrews behind him, there's that little bit more freedom to get forward. And saw Nkomo start at left-back last week, so I wonder if maybe they're just going into a little bit more of that traditional back four now with Nkomo on the field. And I thought he was quite good on debut last week. Been unlucky not to be starting tonight, but player certainly that I think endeared himself to the South Faithful with a strong debut. Jordan Lampard missing. South Melbourne with their noses in front with 21 minutes remaining. David Yu's goal, the difference as we head into the business end of this contest.
Yeah, I think you're right, Nick. Looks like they have gone to a back four here. We'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, Aaron Cox playing in the front three now. So Aaron Cox playing as the right winger as Ramazani plays his ball forward. Pasquale had to work to get there ahead of McGilp, who's just favouring his left side a little bit at the moment, Cam McGilp. He's worked hard out there and he's obviously carrying that issue with his knee. Sees it all taped up. And he's been a good performer for the Cannons tonight. It's Yu, the goal scorer, and then it's played forward by Ramazani. Enormous towering defensive header by Tratt. And then it came back the other way. Here's Knowles in possession. Still he goes, Joe Knowles. The ball was almost in freestyle football style as they brought the ball forward. And here's Gerardovich, who's now playing as the number 10. And now Hampson, who's been given the captain's armband with Joe Guest being substituted out already. Oh, good pressure, Payne Andrews. There's no foul there. And it's 2v2 here. Labib getting back to make the extra number. Payne Andrews plays it inside. He's taken down by Tratt. And there's the whistle from Yannis Isis. And there's the first yellow card of the evening. Much to the joy of the South Melbourne fans, Jacob Tratt is into the book. And South have got the free kick in a really handy position here. Jacob Tratt picks up his third yellow card of the season. And this will favour the left-footed exponents here for South Melbourne.
In a very dangerous position, and Jack Payne Andrews had a big second half. He did really well there to win that 50-50 against Connor Hampson and get down that near side. See that Yannis Isis is letting this game flow. He's not calling too many of those 50-50s that perhaps in those moments Connor Hampson was waiting for the foul, but he thought there was nothing to it. He just opened the door there, and Jacob Tratt had to make that challenge. So we'll see what South Melbourne are able to do from this free kick. It's looking like it'll be Aaron Cox's
Hampson felt that he got a high fend off, in which he's stayed down and called the trainer out there onto the park for some treatment there. So Shaquille Paligaro was out there looking to provide a bit of assistance to Connor Hampson. But we are back with live pictures here, so thanks for your patience. And if you have been wondering, it was Marko Jankovic who bundled the ball home in a 6-yard box scramble from close range to double the lead.
It was a Aaron Cox free kick that was well saved by Manos Parriage straight up into the air. Probably needed to get that one over the bar, but...
And had taken a touch off the wall too on the way through, which somewhat wrong-footed Manos, so an awkward one there. It did. The save just went straight up in the air. It was like a skyscraper coming down, and, well, the South Melbourne players were just forcing that across the goal line, and Connor Hampson's coming across to the touchline here after receiving treatment, and South are going to make a change here as well now, so it's going to be Geordie Swivel getting opportunity, and Bourgeois getting a healthy round of applause from the South Melbourne fans. Still looking for his first goal in South Melbourne colours, but he's made a valuable contribution tonight.
He's put in a big shift tonight as Bourgeois. He's had a tough tussle against Tratton. Boys had a good chance in that first half to open the scoring, but slowly starting to acclimatise since joining South Melbourne. And you get a sense that a return to his absolute best is not far away. And we saw some signs tonight that I think the South faithful can particularly be very pleased and encouraged by. I think a very strong performance tonight.
He's only going to get better by the week as well. He's Bourgeois, but it's ball in by Cox. Oh, a couple of Oakleigh players were trying to get to the end of it. Here's Yu back onto his other side of his body, and in the process he's shown too much of the ball to Strong, who's been fouled in the process. So Oakleigh can get the ball at the park quickly, and they need to. Just over 10 minutes to go, and plus added time. And they trail at home by 2-0. Last time they tasted defeat in NPL Victoria, it was here. They trailed in that one by 3-0 against Heidelberg. They got it back to 3-2, but it was too little too late on that occasion. Not beaten since. Until now, quite perhaps, could be the time that streak comes to an end. Knowles receiving from forward. Over the top is Gerardovic. He almost got a touch around Charleston, and great goalkeeping. Perfection of the timing from Jake Charleston.
We've got to talk about Charleston, how comfortable he's looked between the sticks today. With each passing week, Steve, you know, he's played in some big games over the last few games, played in some big games as well in the OFC Pro League, and he's starting to really blossom before our eyes, and having a very safe pair of hands between the sticks with Javi Lopez missing, and a lot of confidence coming off his line there to making those decisions too. Very, very impressive.
Well, imagine the confidence that you'll get from getting a clean sheet against Oakleigh, a team that hasn't been held to a scoreless outcome in the league this year. Jankovic doing the work here to keep the ball away from Miller. Cox, who's been really good since moving across to this right-hand side, probably more of his natural position in a more advanced role as well than what he played on the left in the first half. Here's Nkomo, the young Socceroo representative, who's come off the bench as a substitute today after starting last Saturday. Here he is again, receiving from Ramazani. He's definitely got some explosive pace those first few yards when he receives it, Nick. He really puts the afterburners on.
Absolutely. I think just going back to the point in around Charleston and the South Melbourne defence, they're looking likely to have their fourth straight clean sheet as well, which is such a great response. I mean, their last defeat was that 2-1 loss at home against Green Gully when the alarm bells were ringing at that point. And since then, they've been able to really turn things around. Defensively, they've been really, really good in all of these 4 games. The 1-0 win against Andy Thunder, 2-0 against Andy City, 0 last week, and it's looking like, at the moment, another clean sheet potentially in the offing. So I think they'd be very pleased with this, considering how much of a, you could say, putting lightly, how much of a hammering their goal difference took during their OFC Pro League hit, and that obviously put them behind the 8 ball a little bit, that they've been able to potentially recuperate a little bit of that in the last few weeks.
Well, you have to say it's going to put them in a good position for a finals charge if they can be keeping these clean sheets every week. They've obviously got goals in them as well, as we've seen tonight. And that front 3, front 4 will only get better chemistry as they get used to each other and used to combining with Bourgeois as well. But can see them really, really coming on strong in the months of August and September. So inside 10 minutes to go here at Jack Edwards Reserve. South Melbourne holding all the aces here. Here's Cox. Painter Andrews making space down the wide right area. Low ball in. Well read by Tratt. Can Oakleigh get the counter going here? Angles the pass out in front of Hampson. Drives over the halfway line. Labib's ahead of him. Hampson continues his run. Oakleigh need to find some imagination, and they need to do so quickly. Labib's just turned his back. Well defended by Painter Andrews, but Knowles is across to try and provide the overload on this side, but the timing of the run was not of the essence. Flag is up from our assistant referee over there on the far side, Jordan English, for offside.
So 7 minutes plus stoppages remaining. South Melbourne minutes away from what would be a huge win for them. Take them into 5th on the live ladder. Equal on points with Avondale. Behind them on goal difference. Avondale in action tomorrow against Melbourne City. So right in the mix to potentially get themselves a finals berth in the coming weeks. A lot of big games coming up for them. Their focus will turn from tonight to the Australia Cup, where they host Adelaide United at Lakeside Stadium. So a blockbuster coming up for South Melbourne. As a cheater in support, looks to play it inboard. Swibble, Cox, and Hampson did well. And now Oakleigh looking to push the pace back the other way. Knowles, well defended. Yankovic able to cause the turnover, and now Painter Andrews looking to push the pace. Yankovic with a cheeky little flick in there. Bit of invention, playing on a swagger at the moment is Marko Yankovic.
Maybe Yankovic will play the number 10 role next week after that.
Something for
Didn't quite come off.
Something for Sinisa Kahadzic to think about next week, but I don't mind the thought there, Steve. As Charleston there able just to sit on that one. But South Melbourne, 4 games remaining in their season. And of course, after they play Adelaide United, they're right back in action against St Albans away next week. A St Albans team that haven't been an easy beat for anybody right across NPL Victoria. Showcase tonight, defeating Hume City 3-2. Actually, sorry, it's at home at Lakeside Stadium. And then
that should be a good watch next Sunday, that one.
Absolutely. And then Melbourne City, Heidelberg, and George Cross in the final 3 games. So basically elimination finals back to back to back.
Real 6-point games in there. Here's Labib. Knowles on the edge of the area. Plenty of players in white shirts back. It's blocked by Pasquale. Tratt can play it out wide to Ford. He's got a little bit of space. Yoshida over to close him down. Here's Gerardovic playing in that more withdrawn role. Oh, it's good power here. And pace from Ford. He finds Miller in the box. His first touch got away from him a bit. Overhead from Knowles off the crossbar. And is it forced in? It almost was. Well, that would have been one of the goals of the season. Maybe the goal of the season from Joseph Knowles.
Oh, my goodness.
You could see what he was trying to do there. But to actually execute that almost to perfection, well, hats off to the West Aussie. Fantastic moment with the overhead.
I mean, at this stage of the game, Steve, when you're down by 2 with a few minutes to go, why not?
Well, they need that invention. They need that inspiration. That's what we've been saying, and they've lacked that in the second half. If that had have gone in...
Oh...
The technique is, looking back at that on the replay, the technique is perfect. You see the odd overhead kick from time to time, but not with the execution of textbook bicycle kick. After juggling it up to yourself with your back to goal, defenders everywhere. You wouldn't think he's a man who's only played 5 competitive games in the league before tonight.
Remember, he's such a talent
this season.
Yeah. Remember in 2022, particularly when he had that amazing season that got him that move to Brisbane Roar, and obviously now returning last year with Oakleigh, that cruel ACL injury last year that robbed him out for basically the majority of last season, and he's had to slowly work his way back this year, but he's a player to watch in these coming weeks, and if he can produce those moments of magic that he's still got, that's certainly going to help Oakleigh in the long run as Charleston gets set to get things back underway. South Melbourne just playing the seconds at the moment, looking to take a bit of time off the clock. Still got a bit of work to do, because moments like that, it might just jolt South Melbourne a little bit into life, just to know that this one is still a though it would take something special from Oakleigh. Far from over. But it almost was something special from Joe Knowles to get him back into it. So South Melbourne in no rush to get things moving, and they're going to make a double change in just a moment, just to take a little bit of extra time off the clock, perhaps rest a few sore bodies, with an eye to Adelaide United on Thursday night, looking to be the complete a clean sweep of Football Victoria representatives in the round of 32 of the Australia Cup, and join Brunswick Juventus, North Sunshine Eagles, Heidelberg and Preston in the next round as Labib get to make something happen, but again, desperate defending and cleared away. Strong, nods it back there to Boyce. Oakleigh need to go if they want to get themselves back into this one.
Well, we've seen them score goals quickly this season. When they get one, they often able to get another one in quick succession. But they're going to need to get their skates on here. This is Georgiou. Going to ground was Knowles, drawing the attention of one or two South Melbourne opponents there. So they're going to want to take this one quickly. Charleston is organising his defence. Knowles is quickly back up on his feet to deliver this one, and he's the hot prospect out there at the moment as far as Oakleigh is concerned, after that outrageous attempt on goal that came back off the crossbar only a short time ago. So the confidence should be flowing through his veins after that execution. 2 in the wall here for Jake Charleston.
In a sense, if they're going to be able to create something special and get something from this, Oakleigh has to start from here.
So all about the quality of the delivery here. Charleston organising his charges ahead of him. Knowles' ball in. It was aimed at Miller. A likely target. It came off the South Melbourne player last. There's a few South Melbourne fans not that keen to return the ball onto the park.
In no rush whatsoever.
Back it comes now. So Knowles again is going to take the set piece again here. Try and get it in quickly as he can into the breeze. All about the quality of this delivery here, Nick.
So another opportunity here for Oakleigh. Knowles on corner duties. And it's straight to the near post. So Cheetah's there to clear. Pasquale helps it on its way. Uchida chasing it down. Has Cox in support, as well as Nkomo. Nkomo gets there first, ahead of Tratt. Tussle there on that far side that Joseph Ford comes up with possession, but the ball was out of bounds. And South Melbourne will get the throw.
Those subs will be great for them. Been waiting over there for quite a while.
So Andrew Mezzaruni coming on here for Yuki Uchida. First of those changes. Aaron Cox replaced here by James Lackey for the last few minutes, as we'll also wait and see how much added time there is. But South Melbourne getting closer and closer towards all 3 points. 4 minutes of added time, Steve.
So not too long to go. We've just ticked past 10 p.m. local time here at Jack Edwards. Great crowd in tonight on a cool evening in late July. It's definitely a long way from the balmy conditions of the OFC Pro League, but South Melbourne have found their winning ways again here, it looks like. And here's James Lackey. He's shown a little bit too much of it to Strong, and now opportunity for Knowles, who's been turning on the style in the latter stages of this one. He's been unable to help them find a goal to get them back into it. Messaruni with the first touch for the substitute. Boyce is able to find Ford in a little bit of space. He needs to get an early ball in, but it's cleared away by Yu, the man who opened the scoring tonight with a cracking strike, it has to be said, that gave Tom Manos no chance in goal. And it's Marko Jankovic's strike from close range that doubled the advantage, which sees them leading this one 2-0 in second half stoppage time. It's been a really good second half performance by South, Nick.
Absolutely. It's just been very, very professional from South Melbourne. They've been able to take control of this one. And that man there, Jack Paynter-Andrews, Steve, he has been enormous tonight for South Melbourne, particularly on this right-hand side. He's dealt well with the threat of whether it's been Miller or Labib all evening. But really across the park, it's just been a great team effort from South Melbourne from start to finish. I know it's a cliche, but really on every line they have done their role spectacularly against a team that is red hot, a team that are the benchmark at the moment in the competition. And they put themselves in a great position with a lot of momentum heading into the final few weeks with this sort of result.
And they just seem to have grown in confidence over the course of the 90 minutes tonight. You've seen it, the way that they've operated and really backing each other in all lines of play. Hopefully, I feel like their race is run tonight, but they've got some very winnable games coming up. Bentley Green's away next Friday night. Then there's the break for the Doherty Cup final week. Then the following week, they're back in action at home against Green Gully before they're away to Dandy Thunder. And then it's Dandy City back here on the Saturday afternoon of the round 26, all the simultaneous kickoffs. That'll be a home game at 3 p.m. in the final round of the season against Dandy City. So plenty of winnable games coming up for them to get some winning form going and get into finals. Charleston out with a punch. It might sit for Strong. It's away by Yanakopoulos, who's been a tower of strength in defence tonight. The man who played as a 10 last week into central defence tonight. And he hasn't missed a beat there. There's the chance, the step overs. Jurardovic's ball in. Tratt's there. It's Jacob Tratt, and it's going to bounce over the line. And maybe, just maybe, the Oakleigh Cannons have still got some fight in them tonight.
Well, 1 minute left of added time here, Steve, and Jacob Tratt up from the back and able to nod that one home. He's second of the season. Staying up after that set piece, said that's a great ball in. And Tratt able to nod that one towards goal. And Charleston didn't get his positioning right and was able to nod that one into the far corner. And suddenly, South Melbourne have a bit of defending to do in this last minute or so. Do Oakleigh perhaps have one last opportunity, one last roll of the dice? It starts here through forward. They've got to get it moving. Long throw forward that is intercepted there by Ute. Helped on, and Ramazani's there to mop up. But Oakleigh still looking to try and will it forward with a bit of head tennis. Track has to go, sends it long. Labib able to chase this one down. Isolated here against Painter Andrews. Cuts it back towards Hampson. Lackey getting back, and Painter Andrews clears. Takes a wicked deflection. Strong to the byline. Pasquale does well, and he clears it away. Only as far as the goal scorer, Tratt. Ford clips it into the box. Hampson gets ahead to it, but Charleston able to make the save. And South Melbourne can breathe for a second here, Steve.
Well, we were just writing the obituaries for Oakleigh tonight only a short time ago. Jacob Tratt scores a goal ahead. It looked like it was going in slow motion. And then, of course, as Oakleigh do, they're never out of the contest. And they almost could have created a goal-scoring opportunity to level things up. But South Melbourne, a deserved 3 points for them. And that Oakleigh unbeaten streak of 16 games in season 2026 is finally broken here at long last. And it's broken on their home deck at Jack Edwards Reserve. And also that streak of 6 consecutive games without defeat against South Melbourne in the league is over as well. So South Melbourne breaking a couple of streaks tonight, and they get their first 3 points with some of these new signings. David Yu, a great goal for him. His first goal in the South Melbourne colours since joining. And then it was the reliable man in the captain's armband, Marko Jankovic from close range, doubling the lead after a scramble in the goal mouth from an Aaron Cox free kick that was ricocheted off the wall. Tom Manos made the save, couldn't clear his lines, and it was only a matter of time before it was forced home by the angry mob of South Melbourne players, unruly in the 6-yard box. They had that dog in them tonight, and they forced that over the line for 2-0, and in the end that lead was decisive enough, and despite the late effort from Oakleigh through Tratt, South Melbourne in the second half, they played the better football, and they deserved the 3 points.
Absolutely. Big result there for South Melbourne. 2-0 winners. They took their chances. 2-1 winners, sorry. Jacob Tratt able to get that one back. Oakleigh, as you mentioned, their unbeaten run comes to an end. They're still 7 points clear going into next week's game against Bentley. And quickly doing the maths now, they can wrap up the premiership next week with a win, as well as Hume City failing to win against in their next contest as well, which is, just getting that one up right now, against Melbourne City at home. So all eyes on next week. Oakleigh have another chance to wrap it up. South Melbourne, though, they're into 5th. They jump Heidelberg. They're 4 points clear of 7th place, George Cross. They're equal with Avondale at the moment in the race for 4th, and a point behind Preston on the live ladder, who currently lead against Bentley. But they're only 5 points behind Hume as well. So they'll continue to dream of scaling up the ladder and putting themselves in the best position, Steve, to win the NPL Victoria Championship this season. But signing off here from Melbourne South East at Jack Edwards Reserve, South Melbourne victorious here. Final score 2, South Melbourne 1, Oakleigh Cannons.